Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're joining us. We're actually going to go ahead and skip the standard agenda today because we have something really special and honestly deeply personal to talk about. We are focusing entirely on Principle 6, Reach. Now, this Explainer is specifically designed to be the introduction for the small group discussion you're all about to dive into right after this wraps up. Think of this as your primer. It's a guided journey from the depths of isolation all the way to the incredible strength of unity. We're going to unpack what it truly means to reach out, to gather together, and to find real belonging, especially when life just feels overwhelmingly dark.
Okay, let's dive into this. Imagine a winding wooden boardwalk. I love this mental image because it just perfectly mirrors the complex human experience we all share. The path of healing, of moving toward reconciliation and peace, yeah, it is rarely a straight line. It has these sharp turns, unexpected dips, and sometimes you find yourself walking right under incredibly dark emotional clouds. Have you ever felt like that? Like you were just totally enveloped in thick darkness, completely blind to the light you saw just moments before? Well, that quest for healing is exactly what Principle 6 is all about. It's about navigating those winding paths, not by isolating ourselves, but by learning how to reach out.
Which brings us to Section 1. The reality of isolation. To really understand how to reach out, we first have to confront a fundamental truth, and that is, feeling broken is a universal human struggle. It's not a sign of personal defectiveness. Sadness and anxiety are completely natural human emotions, but when pain blocks our ability to feel love or hope, it can plunge us into a deeply, deeply lonely place. I want you to listen to this incredibly powerful quote from a friend of Sister Reyna Aburto. She shared, "Since my early childhood, I have faced a constant battle with feelings of hopelessness, darkness, loneliness, and fear, and the sense that I am broken or defective. I did everything to hide my pain and to never give the impression that I was anything but thriving and strong." Let's just pause here for a second to validate that deep, often hidden pain. You know, so many people silently carry these heavy mental and emotional afflictions. They're desperately trying to appear strong on the outside while feeling utterly shattered on the inside.
So what does this all mean? The absolute crucial point here is that emotional struggles, things like depression and anxiety, they are not the result of weakness or sin. Not at all. In fact, depression thrives in secrecy, but it shrinks in empathy. When we hide our pain, when we refuse to reach out, we're basically giving that darkness power. But when we finally open up, when we share those heavy burdens, those thick clouds of isolation, they actually begin to diminish. Empathy is literally the antidote to secrecy.
We're looking at a real spiritual battle here. The adversary's ultimate goal is to isolate and divide us. He wants you to feel singled out, vulnerable, and entirely alone. Because, let's face it, when we're isolated, we're weak. But God's goal? It's the exact opposite. God actively seeks to gather us, protect us, and unite us. He promises to gather us just as a hen gathers her little chickens under her wings for warmth and safety. God knows for sure that we just cannot survive the storms of life on our own.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 2, Gathering as a Refuge.
There is an indescribable power and safety when we come together as a community to weather a storm. When you gather with others, just like you're about to do in your small groups today, you're actively participating in a divine pattern of protection. Stephen W. Owen taught that there are three primary pillars of this gathering. First, the Lord gathers us in families, both our earthly families and our heavenly family. Second, He gathers us with fellow saints, building those vital friendships and communities of support. And third, and definitely most importantly, He gathers us to Christ and His gospel. We were simply never meant to navigate life's treacherous storms as solitary ships.
Now this brings us to a massive paradigm shift. President Russell M. Nelson taught that salvation is an individual matter. Exaltation is a family matter. Think about that. While we each absolutely have our own individual path and personal covenants, our ultimate spiritual destiny is deeply, inextricably tied to our community, to our loved ones, and to our willingness to reach out and be reached. We literally need each other to become who we are meant to be.
Let's move on and see how this builds into Section 3, the Doctrine of Belonging.
Elder Todd Christofferson emphasizes that true belonging isn't just about fitting into some social group. It's really found in being one with Christ and with each other. But let's be real, sometimes finding that belonging is incredibly painful. Take the poignant experience of Jody King. Jody and her husband were struggling deeply with infertility. She described walking into church on a Sunday, feeling just utterly downtrodden after learning she wasn't pregnant again.
People unknowingly asked really painful questions, and then a lesson on motherhood left her in silent tears. She literally bolted out of the building, feeling completely isolated. Church can definitely sometimes feel alienating when we feel like we don't fit the mold. But she realized something absolutely vital. The Savior invites us to come to Him, no matter our circumstances. We gather not just to be comforted ourselves, but to minister to others who also feel like they don't belong.
And that leads to a profound truth. Belonging comes not as we wait for it, but as we reach out to help one another. This is really the core of Principle 6. If you just sit back and wait for someone to make you feel like you belong, well, you might be waiting a long time. The profound shift happens when we move our focus away from our own comfort, our own insecurities, and our own problems, and instead choose to sacrifice for and serve others. By reaching out, you actually cement your own belonging.
All right, Section 4, the power of winter friends.
This brings us to a beautiful metaphor that is totally essential for the work you're about to do today. A winter friend is that sturdy support system that is absolutely crucial for navigating life's darkest, coldest seasons. I want to share this poem by Jean Kyla McManus, which was actually shared by Stephen W. Owen. She writes about summer friends who are fragile as flowers, great for life's milder hours. But then she says this: I love the winter friends, sturdy as evergreen, wind-tossed. They bow but do not break, nor lose their luster in the snow and frost.
So let's define this clearly. Winter friends are those sturdy companions who weather the storm with you, the ones who bear your heavy burdens without a single ounce of judgment. Stephen W. Owen shared a heartbreaking story about his daughter Jessica. She lost her baby Annie after just 4.5 months of a painfully difficult life. Jessica later said that she and her husband absolutely could not have survived that hardship alone. No way. It was their winter friends, those deep, lasting relationships that gave them the strength to survive the unimaginable.
Now, what's really interesting here is the direct challenge this presents to you. Who are your winter friends? And perhaps even more importantly, who relies on you? Are you willing to be a winter friend to someone else? In the discussion you're about to have, you have this amazing opportunity to become winter friends for one another. You don't find these kinds of relationships scrolling on social media, right? You build them by showing up for people in the frost and snow of their actual lives.
Moving toward the end here, Section 5, coming to the Master Healer.
Ultimately, all our reaching, all our gathering, and all our searching for belonging, it all must point us toward the ultimate source of healing, Jesus Christ. Please let this sink in today. Your struggles do not define you, but they can refine you. Through Christ's atonement, our personal thorns in the flesh, whether that's bouts with isolation, depression, or just deep feelings of inadequacy, they actually give us the miraculous capacity to feel greater compassion toward others. Your pain, when you place it in the hands of the Master Healer, becomes the very tool you use to lift someone else up. Sister Aburto beautifully reminds us of this classic hymn, "Through cloud and sunshine, Lord, abide with me." The Lord stays with us through the thickest darkness and the most radiant light. If you will just reach out to Him and reach out to one another, He will eventually swallow up all our afflictions in joy. He absolutely knows how to succor His people.
And that leaves us right here, at the threshold of your small group discussion. I really want you to carry this final question into the room with you right now. How will you help carry the heavy clouds for someone in this room? You're about to sit down with people who have their own hidden storms. Reach out. Be a winter friend. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I wish you a deeply meaningful, truly transformative discussion ahead.